Like many of you, I have been running Lion for the past few days since Apple released it officially, and have been learning my way around this update, or I guess I could say series of updates, considering there are hundreds of changes in Lion, not just things that are overt, the things that we see, but also underneath, the things that we don't see. People have been benchmarking Lion and suggesting that it's slightly slower than Snow Leopard, but that being said, I say for the most part, Lion's been a decent upgrade. In terms of UI, polish, I think they've gone a long way in unifying everything, making it feel like every window belonged there. I wasn't really thrilled with the changes in Leopard and Snow Leopard, but I certainly do appreciate some of the sheen that has come at me in Lion, minus a few things. So my first impressions are generally good, certainly worth $30 to upgrade all the Macs that you have. You know, some people say it's great, some people say it sucks. There are things that you can change about it. Of course, we've recorded videos before on how to change a couple of the annoyances, but for this video, beyond first impressions, saying I think it's a good upgrade, I wanted to tell you my top 10 features, and I thought about this. I kept going back and forth on what would work, what wouldn't work, and I've scribbled the list on my iPad sitting in front of me. I also posted that list to the Google Plus profile so that people could look at my list and, of course, add their own, specifically in that Google Plus thread. So, number one of my favorite changes is autocorrect. I've had, text expander installed for some time, but you know, that wasn't as pervasive as I had wanted it to be. I really like the way that the iPhone, or I guess iOS devices use autocorrect, and now that is available within macOS 10 itself. In fact, I've caught myself undoing a correction that it made that was proper, thinking, oh, I need to correct that because I screwed it up. So I'm getting used to seeing the underlined, or I guess the blue dots underneath a word that has been corrected. So I do appreciate that, and certainly will keep me from ever misspelling anything again. And sometimes I intentionally misspell something, and Apple thinks it knows better, and you just, you know, backspace or undo, and it reverts back to the way you were typing. So one of the things that I also like, I guess number two, would be rounded window corners. And this is something that very few people would notice, and I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in here and show you. Every corner now on regular windows, as I keep going down, is rounded. And I like that. It makes things look cleaner, smoother. The only exception to that would be palette windows, and I'll get to that actually in a second. Those still have square corners, which is okay, but I like the rounded corners. It just looks clean. I like that. I mean, we're not really living in a world where everything is this anymore, so it's nice to see that windows are starting to kind of take shape, or at least a rounder shape. Number three, emoji. I am a huge fan of emoji on iOS devices, iPhone, iPod Touch, and iPad, and these would be characters, and now they are baked in to OS 10. So now you can have graphics, and I'm talking a series of graphics. All these graphics that were previously only available on Mac OS 10, and not even viewable on your computer unless you had a third-party extension installed in a web browser or beyond. So these are supported natively in the OS. The application itself has to support these characters, so right now Safari does, and that's kind of neat. I ended up registering a domain earlier, the party icon, which is, let's see here, where is it, the objects? Yeah, I registered this icon.tk, and it's a website that redirects right now to my Google Plus profile. I thought that was kind of fun. Right now, though, as I said, it's really only viewable in applications that are native on the system or that support the emoji character set that is now part of Mac OS 10. Kind of nice. So I happen to like that. And that, by the way, is a palette window, so the corners are not rounded. I don't know if you could see that when I was zooming in and out, or it doesn't really matter, because moving along to number four. I had to write these things down. About this Mac now has a far more, I guess the system profile part of About This Mac has a far more, I guess, rich set of information. Not just, you know, info, but specifically even visually. So I could easily take a screenshot and tell you that the Mac Pro that I'm running on, early 2008, the processor, memory, graphics. I've got an NVIDIA GeForce 8800 GT, 512 megabytes. I really want to upgrade. I've been thinking about putting in an ATI video card. What do you guys think? Is that worth doing? The graphics here are okay, but I could use a better video card. That's the next upgrade I think I need to do for this particular Mac. And you can upgrade Mac hardware. despite what some people might say. I've also got more information out on the displays, which they're not Apple displays, and I need to actually upgrade these particular displays at some point. I'm thinking about looking at the Apple displays themselves, because they have the Thunderbolt ports and also a built-in HD webcam. Of course, the resolution is smaller than what I'm used to, 30 inches versus their new 27 inches. Either way, that's another video for the future. It tells me I'm my primary system, 256 gig solid state SATA, and how much space I have open, how much data is being taken up, mostly apps, a lot of other, some bit of photos, some bit of movies, and some bit of audio. I've also got a couple of other drives attached to the system, some scratch disks and backup disks that I don't really use all that often. So that's nice. Then I can flip over to memory, get information. I've got 16 gigs installed, you know, the banks, blah, 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 blah. Also got a link off to support and service, which is nice. So more information, and that may not be interesting to you, but if I'm talking to someone who doesn't really know what kind of Mac they have, they can open that up and see right away, oh, that's the Mac they have. It's a big deal for them. Number 5, WebKit 2. No, I realize it's WebKit version 5.1 that comes with Lion, but it's based upon the foundation of WebKit 2, which does a better job at offloading the processing of page rendering. So pages will load faster in Safari on Lion because of this change, the foundation of WebKit 2. And there will also be a lot less crashes, or I should say a lot fewer crashes, because of the way WebKit 2 works and sandboxing in relation to how pages are actually, I guess, presented. So it works a lot more like the way Google Chrome has worked, and now it's based on WebKit 2. So I do like that, even though I'm not really using Safari. It seems to work faster on Lion than it did in Snow Leopard on the same system. I'm using Google Chrome primarily, despite its... Google needs to do a lot of optimizations on the speed front, specifically the graphics, and WebKit's really kicked it up a notch to the point where I'm thinking, God, maybe I need to start using Safari again, because Chrome is kind of... well, it's not fast. Loads pages is fast, but the graphics display, horrible. Completely unoptimized on the Mac. They need to do your work, Google. Got your work cut out for you. Number 6, some people are annoyed by this behavior, but much like on a like iPhone or an iOS device in general, like an iPad, when you scroll down too far, it kind of bounces down and then snaps back. I kind of like that behavior in Windows, in lists specifically. So if I'm scrolling here in the character palette, if I scroll up too far, it kind of snaps and bounces back. It's kind of nice. I appreciate that. Or like in the applications list in my folder, I've got like thousands installed. It's crazy. The idea that it kind of feels more fluid is nice. Not every application supports that, though, so apparently there has to be a call made. One application that doesn't support it yet, Google Chrome. They really need to start optimizing. Number 7, I like having no scroll bars, and if you don't know what I'm saying, this list here, and I'm just going to go back to the emoji just because I can, there's a scroll bar there, but you see how if I scroll, it appears and then it disappears? I love that. I cannot stand scroll bars on my system. So I like the fact that they're invisible, much like they are on iOS devices. I appreciate that change. I'm not alone, but I also realize some people are annoyed by that. I say get rid of all scroll bars forever. Make them show up when they need to show up. And that's something, by the way, that you can toggle in your system preferences if you want. However, I like that as a default behavior. Now moving on to number 8, I like the fact that I can resize a window from any side. So on this side, I can stretch it that way. I can stretch it from the top. I can stretch it not just from the classic right lower corner, but also the left lower corner, the left upper corner. Every side can be stretched in macOS 10, which will help those of you who are considering making the switch or who go back and forth between Windows and macOS 10. No need to have a third-party hack. I still have the top, I think it's the top 100 tips for switchers. Is it go.tagjag.com/Mac tips. We'll be updating and likely be working on releasing a newer version specifically for all the changes in Lion and all the tweaks that will likely come from here. So number 10, this is something that really you can't see, but you may have noticed that by default, when you launch an app in macOS 10, and people are asking, what's in your dock? I really don't have a lot. Let me just go ahead and zoom in and show you. I really don't have a lot. By default, however, that little blue light won't illuminate anymore. the app will still kind of be open, but the state its state in the dock, it really won't show unless you have that turned on by default. Oh wait, hang on, I don't want that icon there. Sorry, I keep a very lean, mean, clean dock. There's really not much. I don't use the dock at all. But the reason why Apple did that, getting back to this thing that I like, the reason why Apple eliminated that glowing blue dot behavior by default, which you can toggle in the dock preferences, is because of better memory management. So instead of having to worry about what applications are open, if you're not actively using that application and the system detects that you're not using it for some time, it will actually free up the memory for that application. You may have it running, but much like it would be on an iOS device like an iPhone or an iPad, it's running, but it's not taking up your system resources. So Lion does a better job at managing system resources than previous versions of OS X. And if only for that reason, it's a good reason to upgrade. This is also tied into the state of things where it remembers the last windows that were open in an application. Even if you've quit, you can now restart the system and reopen all the applications that were there. So it saves the state of, well, most applications, at least the default applications, where they were at the time that you last closed them, like Preview, your Safari, on down the line. And this is, I think, a welcome change, because people don't want to think about how to use the computer and what app is open. And my dad drives me nuts in Windows, where he thinks he can only have one program open at a time. You can have more than one program open at a time, and the idea is you don't have to think about it. And Apple makes it just supremely easy to not even think about it, just like Microsoft has made it easy to not even think about it. It's just there. So there you go. My top 10 favorite features of macOS 10, 10.7, Lion. Rawr! I'm already looking forward to the next iteration of macOS 10. Who isn't, right? I'm happy, or at least happy enough. I have not yet installed, that being said, Lion on any other systems. I'll be doing that over the course of, I guess, the next few whatevers. I can pretty much install Lion on everything except for my first Mac Mini, which is still a Core Duo. Don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's running Snow Leopard, nothing wrong with it. I could probably sell it, although I don't know who would want to buy it. It's a couple generations old, and you can buy a new Mac Mini with a Core i7 in it for less than $1,000. They're getting pretty affordable for the most powerful PCs on the planet, or some of the most. Don't want to make a statement that's likely going to get me shredded. I'm sure their haters are already commenting in the thread, even if they didn't watch this entire video. That's it. Really. You can stop watching now if you want to. My email address, chris@pirillo.com, @ChrisPirillo on Twitter. I'm also on Google+, Chris Pirillo, you can find me there. Facebook.com/Chris Pirillo is the fan page. Chris.Pirillo.com is the blog. LockerGnome.com and LockerGnome.net for technology help and how-to. Screensaver here, courtesy of macOS 10. Arabesque. And then, of course, we also have a chat room, part of a live video feed where we are geeking out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at live.pirillo.com. We'll see you later.